Hey everyone, thank you for having me. This is an incredible pleasure to be able to speak here at Frontend Nation. Now, before we dive into the talk, let me introduce myself first. My name is Ingila, and I've been working as a staff software consultant at 10 Pearls, Pakistan. I also like to write about stuff on medium.com and love to contribute to open source whenever I can. I've been working as a full stack developer for the last 12 years, and I'm also a mom of three, which is exactly what influenced today's talk, Microfrontends for 5-year-olds. Here are all the places that you can find me and connect with me. Now, let's get into the talk. And how many of you have played with Legos in your childhood? Well, I can say from my childhood that I have some profound memories of playing with Legos. And then we grew up and we became software engineers and found ourselves banging our heads with gigantic monoliths. What exactly is a monolith in this context? Well, imagine trying to build an entire gigantic Lego castle. Every wall, every tower, every tiny detail, all as one single inseparable block. It is incredibly difficult for developers, and it often translates into small development cycles. A small part, a small change in one part of a huge application might require the entire application to be rebuilt and redeployed. This can take hours or even days, meaning teams spend more time waiting than actually building new features. It's like everyone having to stop playing the entire game just because one small Lego brick needs to be swapped out. We also have team bottlenecks, so which is when everyone works on the same gigantic code base, teams often step on each other's toes. Code merges become painful and the deployments are risky. One team's bug can easily block another team's progress. We also have technology lock-in. Once you choose a specific technology for your monolith, like a particular JavaScript framework or a backend language, it is incredibly difficult to change it later. You are effectively stuck with that one type of Lego brick forever, even if newer, better ones become available later on in the project. When we also have scaling changes, in which if one small part of your application suddenly becomes popular and gets a lot of traffic, the entire monolithic server has to scale up, even if other parts are sitting idle. This can be inefficient and costly. It's almost sad. But what if we could change that? And imagine if we could build our giant web applications with the same modularity and independence as these Lego bricks. What if we could build our applications in small, separate pieces instead of trying to build it all at once? That's exactly where the concept of micro frontends came from. It allowed organizations to stop building large monoliths and start building small, independently shippable components that could also talk to each other. In the next 20 minutes, we will be talking more about what microfrontends are, why they were introduced, how they're implemented, and what are the challenges of using microfrontends. So that brings us to our first big question for our 5-year-old selves and our very smart developer brains. What are microfrontends? Let's go back to our super fun Lego blocks. Imagine we want to build a giant castle with a big gate, a cozy kitchen, a secret dungeon. And imagine building that whole huge castle all by yourself was like building an entire really complex website in one go. In the grown-ups world, it is called a monolith, one large piece of code for everything. And it doesn't sound good. Now, a micro front end is like saying, hey, instead of one person building the castle, let's break it down into smaller, easier to build parts. So the big gate could be one micro front end, and the kitchen could be another micro front end, and the dungeon, another micro front end. Each one is like a small, independent Lego set. These micro front ends are separate pieces of our big website or web application. They are built by different friends or in a grown up world, just different small focused teams. Each team is like an expert Lego builder for their own specific part of the castle. In other words, microfrontends are about building big, complex web applications by breaking them into smaller, self contained pieces that can be developed, deployed, and managed by different teams. And then they all come together to form one unified user experience. So, we talked about what microfrontends are, and they're like building Legos, right? Lots of small teams building their own parts. Now, why would you want to do that instead of using just one big box of Legos? Let's talk about the awesome things that we get when we adapt to micro frontends. The grown-ups like to call the first one team autonomy. Imagine each team having their own box of Legos. They can build whatever they want, however they want. One team loves red bricks and wants to build a fire truck. Go for it. Another team likes the blue Legos and wants to build a police station. Cool. This means that teams can use the best tools for their jobs. They are not stuck with the same old stuff just because another part of the company decided on it 10 years ago. In the grown up world, this decentralization of decision making is powerful, and it can go really fast because they're not waiting for anyone else for approvals or long merge windows. They're independent. And when these teams have these superpowers, they can build their parts super fast. What happens? We can see building something way bigger than we could ever before. So, what if instead of a castle, we build a huge Lego city? So, if everyone is trying to build it all together, it's a mess. It's a big mess and it takes forever. But if each team builds their own part, like the fire station or the hospital or the school, we can put them all together and make something amazing faster. The grown ups like to call it scalability. Microfrontends allow us to scale. We can add more features and more teams without crashing everything down. It's easier to manage something big when it is made up of smaller, well organized pieces, and we can adapt and we can update the parts of the application or of the parts of the city whenever we want and even deploy them independently without disrupting the entire system. Now, when you build something really big like our amazing Lego city, sometimes accidents happen, right? This is where the next superpower comes in handy. Imagine someone playing with the Lego city and oops, they accidentally knock over one building and it breaks. If it's all one giant Lego castle, we have to stop playing everything and fix the whole castle, and then we can go back to playing, right? Everyone's sad. But if the city is made up of separate buildings, like with microfrontends, we can just take that one broken part, fix it with our superpowered team, and put it back. The rest of the city keeps running, and everyone else can keep playing. In grown-up world, when a problem occurs, its impact is isolated. We can fix a single micro front end without affecting the application or disrupting the user experience. This significantly improves stability, reduces downtime, and makes debugging and deploying fixes much faster. We are talking about increased resilience and increased mean time to recovery. And when you know you can fix these things super fast and easily, it gives you the confidence to explore new tools. Because sometimes we might want to try cool new Legos, like the sparkly ones or the ones that light up. So with micro frontends, one team can try the new Legos without messing up with the rest of the city. Or in other words, teams can innovate. They can use frameworks and libraries without being held back by the rest of the application's legacy code. This keeps our technology stack modern and lets us use the best tools that are available for doing the job, staying competitive in a rapidly evolving tech landscape. Now, we've seen the why. why microfrontends are like building with superpowered Legos. Now let's peek under the hood and ask the 5-year-old question, how do they do that? Or as the grown-ups say, how do we actually implement those microfrontends? There are many, many ways of implementing microfrontends, but one of the best ways is to implement it by using module federation. What is module federation now? Well, imagine you have a big box of Legos and your friend also has a big box of Legos, right? You both are building your own toys with these Legos. Module federation is like having a special window between your Lego house and your friend's Lego house. It allows you to say, hey friend, I have this super cool blue brick that you could use. And in the grown up world, we call this a remote application. And your friend can say, wow, can I borrow this brick to put on my house? In the grown up world, this thing is called a host application because it is borrowing something from the remote application. Then, without you having to give your entire box of Legos to your friend, they can just reach through a special window or a special portal and use that one blue brick in their toys. When they're done with it, it's still their house, but you know it came from your box. So, Module Federation helps different computer programs share their special pieces with each other so that they can build bigger and better structures with their Lego pieces or with their applications. Wow. So, building with micro frontend sounds like the best thing ever, right? Like, who wouldn't want to build a giant application super fast with everyone developing their own parts, sharing super cool features with micro frontends? It sounds like micro frontends are the best thing ever, right? Wrong. Just like sometimes our favorite toy has a little tricky part, or our awesome game has a secret hard level, microfrontends also come with their own set of challenges. And it's important to know about these tricky parts too so that we can make better decisions. Let's talk about the challenges that come with microfrontends. So the first problem is lots and lots of drawings. Instead of one big paper, everyone draws on one small paper that they own, which means lots of drawings to manage. In the grown-up world, this translates to increased operational complexity and management overhead. When you go from managing one large application to potentially dozens of smaller ones, you release processes, monitoring tool, infrastructure setup, all become more complex. You need to have good automation and clear processes to keep everything running smoothly. Otherwise, the overhead can quickly negate the benefits. And when you have lots of different drawings from different friends, sometimes the colors don't match. Your red might be different from your friend's red. It gets tricky to manage all the colors in the big picture and make them look the same. Similarly, in the grown up world, this challenge is known as maintaining design system consistency and a unified user experience. Now, this is crucial for the user. In different parts of your website, look or behave inconsistently, it creates a jarring and confusing user experience. Establishing a robust design and ensuring that all the teams adhere to it becomes paramount to maintaining a single cohesive brand identity. And also, beyond just the colors, sometimes the very shape of our drawings can cause a little puzzle. In a way that your drawing of a house might be too big for your friend's drawing of a tree. It can be a little tricky to make these pictures of different sizes fit into one big scene. In the grown-ups worlds, this often is described as integration challenges and orchestration complexity. It doesn't just it's not just about static placement. It's also about how these independent pieces interact. Do they share the same data? Do they communicate events? There are more sophisticated interactions, the more complex the integration layer becomes. You need to have a robust strategy for bringing these pieces together on the user's screen. And when, even if we figure out how all the pictures fit, putting those individual drawings together to make the final big scene can sometimes take a little while, which leads to our next challenge, that is longer build times. It takes longer to put all the small drawings together than just drawing one single drawing or one big picture at a time. While individual micro front ends build quickly, the process of assembling them into a single big application for deployment, potentially with shared dependencies, can add overhead. Optimizing these pipelines is key to realizing the speed benefits. And finally, imagine trying to find one specific drawing among all of your friends' individual papers. It can get a little bit of if it can get a bit confusing remembering where everything is, because each small drawing or each small micro front end has its own code base and its own place that we can call a repository or a server. This big picture or the final website needs to know where each small drawing lives to put them all together. Ultimately, in the grown up world, this is the prime example of distributed system overhead and discovery or routing complexities. The main application needs to know where to find and load each small micro front end and how to write the user requests to the correct ones. This adds complexity to your infrastructure, routing, monitoring compared to a single monolithic deployment. Given these considerations, the big question still remains, to micro frontend or not to micro frontend? Just like deciding whether to build a small house or a huge Lego city, the answer depends on your needs. It's almost looking it's about looking at your organization, your team size, your application's complexity, your desired speed of innovation. Micro frontends, for a context, they truly shine when you have a large, complex application with many independent teams needing autonomy and faster delivery. Some of the greatest examples of real world implementations of micro frontends are IKEA, Spotify, and Upwork. All right, everyone. We've journeyed from building imaginary Lego cities to navigating the world of modern web applications as senior developers. We learned that building a gigantic castle, that big scary monolith, all by ourselves is incredibly tough. But by bringing it into small, independent Lego pieces, or what we now know as micro frontends, we can gain some amazing superpowers. We saw how micro frontends empower our teams with autonomy, letting them pick their favorite blocks and build super fast. We discovered how we can build bigger, more scalable cities, each of them having their own team, having their own district. And the best of all, we learned that if one building cracks, the rest of the city stays standing, making our applications incredibly resilient. We even looked at some of the grown up ways to click those pieces together or to implement micro frontends, like with module federation, which is like having a super window to share all those cool Lego bricks. And we also got real about the challenges, right? Just like making sure all our different drawings match and fit perfectly, managing micro frontends comes with its own complexities. From consistent user experience to distributed systems overhead, it's not always a smooth ride and it requires a lot of careful planning. At the end of the day, whether you're building with physical Legos or virtual micro frontends, the core lesson is the same: breaking big problems into smaller, manageable, and independently owned pieces allows us to build incredible, robust, and evolving creations that can truly adapt to the demands of modern software development. At the end, thank you so much for joining me on this playful and yet insightful journey today. I hope it has given you a fresh perspective on micro frontends and even inspired you a little bit to dig into some of your old Legos. Now, I'd be absolutely delighted to take any questions that you might have, whether they are coming from your inner 5-year-old or a brilliant senior developer mind. Thank you so much for having me again, and it's been a pleasure.
Hey, thanks, Ingila. I don't have 5-year-old next to me to ask any questions, but we have some from the audience. First off, that was very nice talk. Was very easy to understand. So indeed, very friendly for 5-year-old. Maybe first one that we have is what's your favorite tech stack to be on micro frontends? Sorry, we can't hear you. Yes.
Now you
Okay.
can
Perfect.
probably hear me. Okay, so I have built micro frontends using both Angular and React. However, I would recommend using React along with Module Federation because of the developer experience primarily, and it also has different libraries and different tools that we can use along with our micro frontends that would make it easier to implement. So yeah, for me, it would be React.
Okay. One of my personal question for me: how would you deal with the ecosystem fragmentation? Because I feel like we have like 15 different ways of doing micro frontends and packages that show up every week, but then yeah, I don't feel like they are that stable or that bulletproof or doesn't cover the full spectrum. So how
So
would you decide on which one to pick?
I cannot hear you. I think I lost you.
You lost me? How would yo? Um, hey,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
Okay. So, how would you deal with the ecosystem fragmentation? Because we have a
Okay.
lot of tools, but
Okay.
which one to pick?
Okay. Yeah. So that's a very good question. So, ecosystem fragmentation is a very significant challenge that can arise when implementing micro frontends, and it can potentially undermine many of the benefits that this architectural style promises. Um, there are some of the ways that we can like there are so many different tools that we can use to to implement to get the best results of out of these issues. But the best things that I have learned over the years is by having strong shared principles that we need to define one core architectural principle and communication patterns that all micro frontends that we are using, regardless of the framework, they must adhere to. We should have some sort of standardized tooling. For example, linters, formatters, build configurations, CI/CD templates that the teams, everyone implementing those micro frontends can adapt to.
Yeah.
We can also have different recommendations or even mandates for core technologies, like, for example, all my new micro frontends should use React 18, but existing on Angular ones can remain. So these are the practices that I have been following over the years, and it has helped me and hopefully help others too when they are developing micro frontends.
So maybe bouncing on this, do you have something other to keep in mind while working with micro frontends?
Yes, I think there are so many different factors that we can keep in mind when we are developing micro frontends. Some of the important things that we need to keep in mind when developing micro frontends can be communication and orchestration. We need to be very, very clear about the communication and the strategies. We need to be very consistent about the user experience. And that can be done by unified design systems and shared UI UX libraries. We can also have framework agnostic components, so that if possible, we can build UIs components using web components, and like if not, then pick a primary framework and then ensure that all micro frontends conform or build wrapper components around that.
I
We can
agree.
also have,
Been
yeah.
there. Yeah. Okay. Maybe last one. Do you think that people could use it for their private personal project?
I think they should use it for their personal projects because I think it's very cool, and it's a very like it's a great thing to learn and implement as well. However, whether to use micro frontends or not in a real time project, like I said in my talk, depends on a variety of factors, including your rate of innovation, your team size, how frequently you need to ship the components, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. the resources. So I think it's cool to implement micro front ends in your private projects as well.
Okay, perfect. Maybe a quick show or showcase of where people can reach out to you.
Oh
What
yeah,
would be the
sure.
best?
Okay, so sure. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you search me on my LinkedIn, you can definitely reach out to me. I'm with the same name, and my profile is public. So if anyone wants to connect or say hi, I'm always there. And yeah, LinkedIn
Okay,
would be the best way. Yeah.
perfect. Thanks a lot. I wish you
All
an amazing
right.
day. Bye bye,
All
Ingela.
right. Bye bye.